The massive holographic display flickered with an intricate pattern of blue and silver lines that seemed to dance and weave in impossible configurations. Junho Park stood quietly in the observation chamber, his eyes focused intently on the strange signal that had puzzled galactic researchers for generations. The Andromeda Sector research station hummed with a low, steady vibration. Around Junho, alien researchers from various civilizations watched with a mixture of skepticism and mild amusement. Humans were still considered relatively new to interstellar research, seen as young and somewhat naive explorers in the vast cosmic community. "Another human team," whispered a tall crystalline being from the Quantum Research Collective, its translucent body shifting colors as it spoke to a nearby colleague. "They think they can solve what we could not in 3 centuries of research." Junho didn't respond to the subtle mockery. He knew their reputation preceded them. Humans were often viewed as the newcomers, the species that had only recently joined the galactic research networks. But something about this signal was different, and he could feel it in his bones. The signal itself was unlike anything previously encountered. It wasn't a simple mathematical sequence or a standard communication transmission. Instead, it appeared to be a complex, fluid representation that changed its fundamental structure every few milliseconds. Traditional computational methods had failed repeatedly, causing most research teams to abandon the project. Yuna Kim, the team's quantum physicist, adjusted some complex scanning equipment. Her fingers moved rapidly across holographic interfaces, her expression a blend of concentration and curiosity. Unlike the alien researchers who approached the signal with rigid, logical frameworks, she saw it as a living, breathing puzzle. "Look at how it moves," she murmured to Junho. "It's not just data, it's something else." The signal originated from a distant star system that seemed impossibly old. Initial scans suggested it had been traveling for thousands, perhaps millions of years. Its origin point was a region of space that most galactic maps marked as essentially empty, which made its existence even more mysterious. Tai-Ho Lee, their data analyst, had spent weeks running complex simulations. Each attempt revealed new layers of complexity. The signal seemed to resist standard decoding methods, almost as if it were intentionally designed to challenge conventional understanding. Around them, the research station was a marvel of technological integration. Beings from a dozen different star systems worked side by side, their technologies blending into a seamless network of exploration and discovery. Holographic interfaces, quantum computing clusters, and advanced sensing equipment created an environment that would have seemed like pure science fiction to humans just a century earlier. But in this moment, all attention was focused on the small human research team and the mysterious signal that had defeated countless advanced civilizations. Junho noticed something peculiar. The signal's pattern wasn't random. It had a subtle rhythm, almost like a musical composition or an intricate dance. Where other researchers saw complex mathematical equations, he saw something more organic, more alive. "We're missing something," he said quietly to his team. "This isn't just information, it's communication." The alien researchers around them continued their work, occasionally casting dismissive glances at the human team. They had seen countless species attempt to crack this signal, and all had failed. What could these humans possibly discover that they had not? But Junho and his team were different. They didn't see the signal as a problem to be solved, but as a mystery to be understood. Their approach was less about breaking a code and more about listening, about finding the hidden language within the seemingly chaotic patterns. As the holographic display continued its mesmerizing dance, something was about to change. The humans were about to show the galactic research community that sometimes the most innovative solutions come from those willing to look beyond traditional boundaries. The mysterious signal waited, its secrets hidden in plain sight, ready to be unraveled by a team that nobody expected would succeed. The research team gathered around a small circular table, its surface a complex holographic interface that shimmered with soft blue light. Yuna Kim had spread out various visual representations of the mysterious signal, each projection revealing something slightly different from the last. "We're not looking at this correctly," she said. Her voice calm but filled with determination. The alien researchers monitoring their work exchanged skeptical glances, their advanced sensory organs twitching with what seemed like mild amusement. Junho noticed how the signal seemed to pulse and shift, almost like a living thing. Traditional, computational methods had treated it as a static piece of information, but something about its movement suggested something more dynamic. He remembered an old professor who once told him that true discovery often comes from seeing beyond the obvious. Taeho Lee pulled up a series of artistic images on a secondary display. Paintings, musical compositions, dance choreographies, seemingly unrelated to their scientific research. The alien observers looked confused, their complex technological minds struggling to understand the connection. Imagine the signal as a piece of art, Yuna explained. Not a code to be broken, but a story to be understood. Her approach was radical. While other research teams had used massive quantum computers and complex algorithmic models, the human team was suggesting something entirely different. They wanted to approach the signal with creativity, with emotion, with a sense of intuition that most logical scientific approaches dismissed. Junho remembered a conversation with an old musician who once told him that music was more than just mathematical notes. It was about feeling, about connection. Perhaps this signal was similar. Not a mathematical puzzle, but a form of communication that required something more than pure logic. The team began to break down the signal's patterns differently. Instead of looking for linear sequences, they started mapping its movements like a complex dance. They analyzed its shifts and changes the way a musician might analyze a challenging musical composition. One of the senior alien researchers approached their workspace, his crystalline body reflecting the holographic lights. "Your methods are unconventional," he said, his translator producing a slightly mechanical tone. "Sometimes conventional doesn't work," Junho replied simply. They discovered something fascinating. The signal seemed to have emotional undertones, subtle variations that suggested more than just information transfer. It was almost like a conversation, but not in any traditional sense of communication. Yuna started comparing the signal's patterns to different forms of human artistic expression: jazz improvisation, abstract painting, modern dance. Each comparison revealed new layers of complexity. The signal wasn't just data, it was a form of expression that required understanding beyond pure mathematics. Taeho developed a unique algorithm that treated the signal's variations like musical notes. Each shift and change was mapped not as a mathematical sequence, but as part of a larger, more complex composition. The alien researchers watched in growing curiosity, their initial skepticism slowly transforming into genuine interest. Hours turned into days. The team worked with a combination of scientific precision and creative intuition. They didn't just analyze the signal, they tried to understand its essence, its potential meaning beyond pure information transfer. "What if," Junho proposed during one late-night session, "this signal is actually a form of emotional communication we've never encountered before?" The idea was radical. Most galactic research assumed that advanced communication would be purely logical, based on mathematical principles. But the human team suggested something different, that communication could be more complex, more nuanced. Their approach was unlike anything the galactic research community had seen before. They weren't just trying to decode a message, they were attempting to understand its soul, its fundamental nature. As the research continued, something extraordinary began to happen. The signal started responding to their unique approach, revealing layers of complexity that had remained hidden to every previous research attempt. The alien researchers watched in growing amazement. These humans, whom they had initially dismissed as primitive and inexperienced, were doing something completely unexpected. They were solving a mystery not through pure technological might, but through creativity, intuition, and a willingness to see beyond conventional understanding. Something significant was about to be discovered, and no one, not even the humans themselves, fully understood what was coming. The research station was quiet, almost eerily so. Soft blue lights illuminated the workspace where Taeho Lee sat motionless, his eyes fixed on a complex holographic display. Something had changed. In the signal's pattern, a subtle shift that most researchers would have missed. "Come look at this," he called softly to Yuna and Junho. The signal's fractal patterns were moving differently. Where previous analysis showed rigid mathematical sequences, now there was something more fluid, more alive. It reminded Yuna of an old memory, her grandmother's traditional Korean storytelling, where narratives weren't just words but living experiences. Junho leaned closer. The signal wasn't a code, it was a narrative. Each movement represented an emotion. Each shift told a part of a story that transcended traditional communication methods. The alien researchers who had been monitoring their work suddenly became very still, their advanced sensory systems struggling to comprehend what the humans were seeing. "It's like a memory," Taiho whispered. "Not information, a memory." The signal revealed fragments of something ancient, glimpses of a civilization so old that its very communication method had become a mystery. Fragments of experiences, emotions, and connections that went beyond simple data transfer. Yuna began mapping the emotional signatures. Each segment of the signal carried a different feeling, moments of joy, of sorrow, of profound connection. It was like watching a complex emotional landscape unfold in real time. The breakthrough was unexpected. While other research teams had used massive computational power, the human team had used something different: human intuition, emotional intelligence, and a willingness to see beyond traditional scientific boundaries. Junho remembered an old story his grandfather used to tell about understanding something not through pure logic, but through feeling. Those memories now seemed incredibly relevant. The signal started responding to their approach. Its patterns became more complex, more intricate. It was almost as if the signal itself was communicating, recognizing that someone was finally listening in the right way. Alien researchers gathered around, their advanced technological interfaces struggling to process what was happening. The humans weren't just decoding a signal, they were establishing a form of communication that defied everything known about interspecies information transfer. "We're not just receiving information," Taiho said, his voice filled with wonder. "We're experiencing a story." Each fragment of the signal carried layers of meaning, moments of collective experience, emotional landscapes that spoke of a civilization far more complex than anyone had imagined. It wasn't about mathematical precision, but about connection. The research station's ambient noise seemed to fade. The only sound was the soft hum of equipment and the occasional sharp intake of breath from the researchers as they realized the magnitude of their discovery. This wasn't just a scientific breakthrough. This was a fundamental reimagining of communication itself. Junho looked at his team. Yuna's eyes were bright with excitement. Taiho's hands moved rapidly across interfaces, capturing every nuanced detail. They had done something no other research team had managed. They had listened, truly listened. The alien researchers began to understand. Their previous approaches, pure logic, mathematical precision, had been fundamentally limited. The humans had shown them something revolutionary, that communication was about more than information. It was about understanding. As the signal continued to unfold its complex narrative, the research station became a place of profound transformation. Something ancient was speaking, and for the first time, someone was truly hearing its story. The breakthrough moment wasn't just about solving a scientific mystery. It was about proving that human intuition, creativity, and emotional intelligence could unlock secrets that pure technology could not. And this was just the beginning. The Galactic Research Council chamber was silent. Massive holographic displays showed the human team's breakthrough, revealing layers of communication that had remained hidden for centuries. Representatives from hundreds of advanced civilizations sat motionless, their complex biological systems processing an unprecedented moment. Junho stood quietly, his hands clasped behind his back. Beside him, Yuna and Taiho waited, understanding the weight of their discovery. They weren't just presenting research, they were challenging everything the galactic scientific community believed about communication and intelligence. A tall, crystalline, being from the Quantum Research Collective rose slowly. Its translucent body shifted colors, a sign of deep emotional processing among its species. Your approach, it said, translator rendering words with mechanical precision, challenges everything we understand about information transfer. The signal they had decoded was more than just a scientific discovery. It was a window into an ancient civilization's emotional and cultural landscape. Where previous researchers saw mathematical patterns, the human team had seen a living, breathing narrative of experiences. Diplomatic representatives from various star systems watched with growing interest. Humans, once considered a young and relatively primitive species, were now presenting something revolutionary. Their method of research defied traditional scientific approaches, introducing a concept that was both simple and profound. We didn't solve a code, Yuna explained calmly. We listened to a story. The implications were massive. The signal revealed communication methods that went beyond technological limitations. It suggested that true understanding required more than computational power. It needed emotional intelligence, creativity, and a willingness to see beyond existing frameworks. Taiho's additional research showed how the signal's complex emotional signatures could potentially revolutionize interstellar communication. No longer would species rely solely on mathematical or technological methods. Instead, they would need to understand the emotional core of communication. Diplomatic protocols began to shift immediately. Research grants were offered, with multiple galactic institutions expressing immediate interest in the human team's methodology. What had started as a simple research project was now transforming humanity's entire galactic reputation. Humans have demonstrated something extraordinary, announced the Council's primary representative. A new approach to understanding complex information systems. The research station buzzed with excitement. Alien researchers who had previously dismissed the human team now approached them with genuine respect. They wanted to understand how this small group had achieved what centuries of advanced research had failed to accomplish. Junho understood the significance. This wasn't just about solving a scientific mystery. It was about proving that human creativity, emotional intelligence, and unique problem-solving approaches had value on a galactic scale. Political representatives from Earth watched the proceedings with growing pride. Their small research team was redefining humanity's position in the galactic community. No longer would humans be seen as technological newcomers. They were now recognized as innovative, creative problem solvers. The signal itself continued to reveal new layers of complexity. Each analysis showed deeper levels of emotional and cultural information, suggesting that the human approach could unlock mysteries that had remained hidden for millennia. Research funding began pouring in. Multiple galactic institutions requested collaboration, wanting to understand the human team's unique methodology. Universities across different star systems started developing new research programs inspired by their breakthrough. We're not just researchers, Junho told a group of alien diplomats. We're storytellers. We understand that every piece of information has a narrative, an emotional core. The Galactic Research Council began immediate discussions about integrating emotional intelligence and creative approaches into their standard research methodologies. The human team had shown that technological advancement wasn't just about computational power, but about understanding the deeper connections between information and experience. As the day concluded, Junho, Yuna, and Taiho realized they had done more than solve a scientific mystery. They had opened a new chapter in galactic understanding, proving that humanity's unique perspective had incredible value. The signal continued its beautiful, complex dance, a testament to the power of truly listening, of seeing beyond the obvious, and of understanding that communication is about more than just transferring information. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not with technological might, but with creativity, empathy, and an extraordinary ability to see the world differently. 6 months after the breakthrough, the world had changed. Junho Park stood on the observation deck of the International Galactic Research Center, watching shuttles from different star systems arrive and depart. Humanity was no longer just an observer in the cosmic community. They were now key players. The discovery had transformed everything. Research institutions across Earth were overwhelmed with collaboration requests. Young scientists who once dreamed of space exploration now had unprecedented opportunities. Universities redesigned entire academic programs to focus on cross-cultural communication and creative problem-solving. Yuna Kim had become a global sensation. Her approach of treating scientific problems like artistic challenges was now being taught in research academies across multiple planetary systems. Schools began introducing new curriculum modules that emphasized emotional intelligence alongside traditional scientific training. Tai-Ho Lee worked with a special diplomatic team, developing new communication protocols that integrated the lessons learned from the mysterious signal. Governments and research institutions wanted to understand how humans could decode complex information through intuition and creativity. The alien research community continued to study the human team's methodology. What they had discovered was more than a scientific breakthrough. It was a fundamental shift in understanding communication, intelligence, and connection. Diplomatic relations expanded rapidly. Species that had previously viewed humans as technological novices now sought their unique perspectives. Human researchers were invited to collaborate on projects that had remained unsolved for centuries. During an international conference, the lead researcher from the Quantum Research Collective made a surprising statement. "Humans have shown us that intelligence is not about computational power," he said, "but about the ability to understand, to feel, to connect." The signal itself remained a subject of ongoing research. Each analysis revealed new layers of complexity, suggesting that the human approach had only scratched the surface of its potential meaning. Junho reflected on their journey. What had started as a small research project had fundamentally changed humanity's position in the galactic community. They were no longer seen as newcomers but as innovative problem solvers with a unique perspective. Economic impacts followed quickly. Technology companies developed new communication systems inspired by the human team's approach. Research grants flooded in from multiple planetary governments, all wanting to understand and replicate their methodology. Young scientists became inspired. Career paths that once seemed impossible were now open. Students began focusing on interdisciplinary approaches, combining art, emotion, and scientific research in ways never considered before. The global media celebrated the team's achievement. Documentaries, books, and interactive educational programs explored their breakthrough. Junho, Yuna, and Tai-Ho became symbols of human potential, representing a new approach to understanding the universe. International space programs expanded rapidly. Missions that were once considered too complex now seemed possible. The human ability to see beyond traditional boundaries had opened new frontiers of exploration and understanding. During a private moment, Junho told his team something his grandfather used to say: "True discovery happens when you're willing to look at the world differently." Their discovery had proven those words true. They had shown that solving complex problems wasn't about having the most advanced technology, but about having the creativity to see what others missed. The research center buzzed with energy. Scientists from different species worked side by side, sharing ideas, approaches, and perspectives. The human team had created more than a scientific breakthrough. They had created a new way of thinking about communication and understanding. As evening approached, Junho watched the sun set over the research center. Multiple species moved through the corridors, a testament to the new era of collaboration and understanding that their work had initiated. The mysterious signal continued to hold secrets. But now humanity had proven they were capable of listening, of understanding, of connecting in ways no one had imagined possible. Their journey was just beginning. The universe waited, full of mysteries, ready to be understood by those willing to look beyond the obvious, to truly listen, to truly see.